it's nice to be recognized too. That doesn't always happen. Last week I was making a call to a big executive. I was trying to get some support from my PAC, and his assistant answered the phone and said, "What's your name, please?" I said, "Mitt Romney." She said, "What company are you with?" I said, "Well, currently I'm unemployed." She said, "What's the nature of your call then?" And I said, "Well, I want to talk about a job." She wouldn't let me get through, so it gets worse than that. Not long ago, I was at the Newark Airport in New Jersey flying to Boston, and I figured that by virtue of being on a flight to Boston that the people around the airport would recognize me there, and so I was sort of over by myself reading the newspaper, and all of a sudden I heard a shriek, and I looked up, and there was a Chinese exchange student, young woman there. She had a cowboy hat, cowboy boots. I knew she wasn't Texan because her pants were tucked into her boots. She was pointing at me and shrieking, and she said, "You're John Kerry." I sure am. I'm John Kerry. Oh, it's so great to be here with so many friends. I can't tell you how much I love being here in Idaho Falls, and having Frank welcome us here, and Belinda putting up with Frank. It's an amazing thing, and all of you supporting him. You know, he said something that struck me. He said, "You know, he doesn't just vote the party line. He looks at the individuals that he's considering voting for." And I thought, well, you know, we all sort of do that. And then I thought to myself, yeah, I end up, however, always voting for the Republican. And Laura, your first lady, said to me, she turned and said, "You know, when people choose which party they're in, they're telling you a lot. They're making a choice. And there is a difference between the philosophy of those who decide to call themselves Democrats today and those who call themselves Republican. Those that are running for office have made a very clear choice. And you're seeing that choice in the race for governor. The guy who's running on the Republican side, who is your current governor, is a guy who said, look, I'm not going to let the special interest of the big teachers unions run our schools. I'm going to make sure that we do a better job improving education for our kids. I'm not going to, when we face tough times, turn to the people of Idaho and raise their taxes or make it harder for them to start businesses. Instead, I'm going to slim back on government and make sure that we balance our budget without putting a bigger burden on our citizens. That's what Republicans do. That's the choice they make. When it comes to deciding whether we're going to follow the dreams of people's hearts and recognizing that America and Idaho becomes more successful as entrepreneurs and risk takers begin businesses and start jobs, that's what Republicans believe in. And Democrats somehow believe that if you want to help people, you should take from one to give to the other. It's a matter of philosophy. And that philosophy is stark in comparison here. And when you have somebody like Butch Otter, who has a track record and a history of getting things better for Idahoans and showing that he knows how to balance budgets, to make tough decisions, and to keep Idaho strong and safe and prosperous, that's why you elect a governor, Butch Otter, again. You have seen the contrast in Washington. I remember something Ronald Reagan said. He was talking about liberals, and you see it across the country. He said this about liberals. He said, it's not that the liberals are ignorant, it's just that what they know is wrong. and that's what you see. There's some wonderful people who are liberals. I happen to like President Obama. He's a very nice fellow, and a lot of folks that work with him. Harry Reid and others. Your great friend, Harry Reid, Jim. And yet, by the way, this up here, the ground rules, honest, open, candid. Boy, we have seen some of that. Frank knows how to do that. But anyway, they're nice folks. They just happen to be wrong. And you've seen that as it came time to deal with the national economy. Virtually everything the president and his team in Washington did had the opposite effect of what they'd hoped. Because what they know is wrong. They put together a stimulus of $787 billion. What's your state budget here?
$2 billion.
$2 billion. Think of that. Your state budget is $2 billion. They borrowed $787 billion. Trying to get the economy going, they said. Instead, what they did was protect their friendly states and build new government programs. They added 127,000 jobs. Washington is a boom town. You want to see construction and new jobs. It's all in Washington. And what happened in the private sector? We lost 2.4 million jobs. Now there's some 15 million people out of work. An unemployment line would reach from Washington to California and back again, because what they know is wrong. And then they put in place this Obamacare, which has scared the dickens out of anybody thinking about starting up a new business. It is wrong. It ought to be repealed. The list by the way, Tom, don't you leave. Yes, Tom Luna, great commissioner of education. Get him reelected. He's got to go catch a plane. We're going to Boise together. He's got to go first. Thanks, Tom. Good to see you. The movement you're seeing around the country is that people recognize they're wrong and that they've taken the country in the wrong direction. And part of the passion you're seeing here today for Butch Otter is that you recognize he's right and he'll keep Idaho going in the right direction and make it stronger, more prosperous, with good schools and a good future for our kids and for theirs. But there's something else going on in this country, even more fundamental, as you look at the difference between, if you will, the liberals and those that hew to a more conservative view. And I'll illustrate it with a little story. I was shopping at Christmas time for my grandkids. I was at Walmart and looked around the store. I don't shop for Ann at Walmart for Christmas, but for my grandkids I do. I looked around the store and I said, you know what, this store reminds me of Sam Walton. Now, I had never met Sam Walton before, but I heard a lot about him. He likes low prices on everything you could want, but he was not a highly organized guy, kind of impetuous, just make it happen kind of guy. You go in the store, and you know this, I see some nodding heads, low prices on everything, but kind of disorganized, kind of helter-skelter. Not like a Target store where everything lines up just so. And I thought it's interesting how a business tends to reflect the character of the founder, his personality. And then I thought about other businesses that we know, like Microsoft is a bit like Bill Gates, and Apple Computer is more like Steve Jobs. And an airline like Virgin Atlantic is edgy and irreverent, just like the founder, Richard Branson. and I thought, it's amazing how that's true in the business world. And then I thought, it's also true in charities, schools, universities, churches even. They reflect, in a lot of respects, the character of their founder. It's also true of countries. This nation reflects the character of the people who founded America. Those very first colonists that came to Virginia and Massachusetts at the very, very beginning, they set aside the relative comfort and security of Europe and said, I'm going to take a threatening ocean voyage to America with uncertain climate and uncertain Native Americans. And why would they do it? Because more than anything, they prized liberty, freedom of religion, freedom of economic opportunity, the ability to rise above the status of their birth. And so they came here. And then the founders that actually wrote the Declaration and the Constitution, they could have chosen likewise security, saying we're going to follow the crown. Or perhaps we're going to build a big government here that'll tell us how to live our lives and how to do everything we do, from what we make to how we sell it to how we're going to get paid. But instead they said, no, we're going to instead choose, just like those very first colonists, we're going to choose opportunity. We're going to let the American people follow the dreams of their hearts. And by virtue of making that decision, this country became the place on the entire planet where everybody's seeking opportunity, everybody looking for a brighter future for themselves, every pioneer, innovator, creator wanted to come here. That's the American creed. Love of liberty, a passion for invention and creativity, and hopefully building a better future for our kids than we've even enjoyed ourselves. And the Democrats here and around the country and in Washington are smothering that spirit and that creed. And they're replacing that with government telling us how to live our lives and how much of our money to take. It's larger and larger on their part, and we're not going to let them do it. We're going to protect who they are. I was here a long time ago as a boy, worked on a ranch in Glens Ferry. And then came back. I've been back a number of times. Went down the Salmon River, Middle Fork of the Salmon River with my dad when I was a little older, and of course come back again, time and time again. But 4 years ago, I came back to campaign for a great guy who became your governor, Butch Otter, and a wonderful First Lady, Lori. And I'm here again because I care about them, and I care about this state, and I care about America, and I care about that American spirit. And we make a choice, we conservatives, in the people we elect to guide our country and make sure it hews to the principles and American creed that has made us what we are. And that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm going to continue to battle to make sure that Butch Otter stays as the governor of this great state. Thank you, guys.